What is going on, guys? We're back. It's been a while. I was between vehicles trying to figure out what to do. The Dodge, it was still running okay. I was getting really tired. And it was just too much money to invest to think about fixing it. So, there's not really much point in investing, $15,000 into a truck that's only worth $15,000. If the truck was cleaner, less rust, stuff like that, if it had a cab that was a bit more set up for what I need, I'd probably make that investment, but wasn't clean enough. So I looked around for a while, looked at a bunch of trucks, looked at used market, was kind of running out of time and just had to bite the bullet. So we are in the new ride. It's a 2025 F350 high output Tremor package. It is the incredibly rare 6-seater Tremor, so no console. It has the split on the front, so that's very hard to find in Canada anyways. I looked tail end of 24, there was 2 in all of Canada. Obviously with 25s, prices have gone up, so the dealerships are factory ordering less expensive builds to try and keep the purchase prices down, because they know not everybody wants to spend that kind of cash. Also with the 25s, you're getting a 2.99 interest rate here in Canada. So if you compare that to the used market, where you're, if you get 6%, you're lucky. You're going up from there quite a bit. This is not bad. You're essentially paying just a little bit more than the used one for a new one. So I wanted to wait just a little bit, a couple Ks to start filming some stuff, just see how it did. We're 3,600 K in so far. We're gonna start posting lots of content on this truck, towing, real world towing, miles per gallon, liters per 100K, just tracking any issues we have with it, if any, hopefully not, and just the whole process of how it goes owning this truck. It is the blue, I believe it's antimatter blue color. So obviously a Tremor is crew cab short box for the F350. Wasn't specifically only looking at Tremors, but finding a 6-seater crew cab short box was already incredibly difficult, and just so happens I found this truck within about an hour and a half from where I live, so not bad. So far, coming out of the 3rd gen into a 25, if I had gone Ram, or Ford or Chevy, obviously massive improvement. I did look at the Rams. I did not look at the Chevys. I thought about it for a minute because I know those Duramaxes got good power, but I am towing a lot of weight, and I've known quite a few people now with issues with the transmissions on the new ones, so I wanted to hold off. We have a few of these F350 10 speeds in our fleet and have had 0 issues, so I at least know some history on that. And I thought about going with the Ram, but it was going to take about 4 months for a truck to come in, 4 to 5 months. which I didn't have. Also, I was reading a bit on people having issues getting things like oil filters, stuff like that, and for someone who drives a lot and runs into oil changes quickly, that was a bit of a concern. So anyway, we went with the Ford. We're gonna see how it goes and take it from there. So this truck is pretty low trim for a Tremor, which is why I decided to jump on it. It's an XLT. It does not have leather seats. It does not have a sunroof. It's got power mirrors, 360 cameras. As I said, Tremor package. It's got the bigger screen. That's about it. Everything else isn't really there, and to be honest, didn't really need it. I really was looking for something fairly low spec'd, which is what we got. As I said, we're towing a lot of weight now because we are towing a machine behind the truck that we're using for roll forming metal. So this truck will have, 16,000 pounds sometimes behind it. Average, I would say 12, probably 13, 14,000 for the roll former. So not a crazy workout, but a decent amount of weight, and something when you live here in British Columbia you don't really want to be doing with an F-150 because they just don't have the for the hills and stuff. Like, we climb mountains all the time here, and so just not something you really want to be doing with a half ton. Obviously, you can get half tons that tow 12,000 pounds, but having been someone who's done that, it's not very comfortable. And here in British Columbia, we don't really get F250s because we have some tax stuff that those trucks don't really make sense. So we're gonna keep an eye on maintenance. We're gonna keep an eye on cost. We're gonna keep an eye on fuel and kind of just see how it goes and track it from there. So far, like I said, obviously very happy, but it's early on. We're gonna see. We're gonna do some mountains tomorrow and kind of see how she does. I've had it on the highway a bit already. Obviously, coming off the Ram, fuel mileage is not as good. You can't, if a 5.9 Cummins is pretty tough to beat with fuel mileage, but we'll see what happens with the future. If we do some tuning, if we delete it, if we do an exhaust, we don't really know. Obviously, we're going to run it for a long time under factory spec, warranty, all that stuff, and just kind of see how she goes. We're going to have to figure out a new setup for a couple things as far as put stuff in the back. We may end up flat decking this truck. We're not 100% sure yet, just because we do haul metal coils, which is a lot easier to load with a flat deck. The reason we went with the short box is purely just for turning radius. As we said, I tow a lot with this thing. I would say we tow more than we're actually using the box. So this truck is bought for towing. So that's why we want the short box. It's just a nicer turning radius. These trucks already don't turn amazing. So, and I do head into the city quite a bit for work meetings, and obviously parking can be a challenge, to say the least, with one of these already, but having the long box makes it even harder. Power wise, obviously these new trucks have so much power. So, you know, the Dodge was starting to stress a little bit. We tried towing the machine with it a few times, and it just really wasn't having it, climbing hills. It was doing it, but it was, you could tell it was struggling. This thing doesn't even break a sweat, so we love that. I thought about getting a dually, but with work, we do get into some pretty narrow access roads quite often, and really tight driveways, stuff like that, and it just makes more sense for me having the single wheel. I don't tow too much that the dually is required, and if we ever get to that point, to be honest, we're gonna go with a 450 or a 550. The 350 for us, it just doesn't really make sense. So anyway, this is the new ride. I'll do some exterior. Obviously everyone knows what an F350 looks like, but we'll do some videos of the truck. As I said, it is a 6-seater Tremor, which is incredibly rare. It seems like the trucks that we're finding here in British Columbia, if you're getting a 6-seater, they're an XL base model fleet truck. This is not that. So we just happened to come across it and we jumped on it. The reason we need the 6-seater is because, if you don't already know, I have 4 kids, and I ordered a 6-seater Lariat in 2021 for a 2022 build, and Ford built it as a 5-seater, and I drove that truck for a year and traded it back to the dealer because it just wasn't working for the family. Anytime we needed to take the big truck somewhere, we had to take 2 separate vehicles. It was very annoying. That was one of the reasons I was looking at Ram, because it's a lot easier to get a Ram 6-seater than a Ford. But here we are. I do like the Ford cab more. Flat rear floor, we like that. It has more legroom, we like that. The Ram short box is too short, and so it would have been a long box Ram, which is fine. But yeah, so we got that, and because it's a Tremor, it automatically comes with a high output. I know the difference between the high output and the standard is pretty minor, so that's not like a huge thing for me, but it has it. Being the Tremor, it has the 355 gears, so it's a little little taller geared, or I guess lower geared, and it just, you know, it has the little features that the Tremor comes with, which, I mean, to be honest, some of the job sites we get into, having the Tremor package with the off-road capabilities is pretty handy sometimes. We had it the other day where we were on a very steep driveway that was gravel, with the machine behind us, a lot of weight, and I mean, it powered up the hill like nothing. So these are all things to think about. And like I said, if you guys have any questions about the truck, anything you want me to talk about, comments, messages, you know, let's see what you guys are looking for. If not, I'll just do what I do and post what I post, and yeah, we'll see how she does, and we'll put her through her paces. And you know, I'm not a Ford fanboy. I like Fords, but I also like Ram, and so if anything breaks, if there's any issues, you guys will find out. Thanks again, guys, and we will see you on the next one.